All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to start with, I'll do a prayer of gratitude. Then we'll do the minute of silence. Again, that was kind of a suggestion because it kind of gives us a chance to settle down even more with everybody here. Couple minutes of silence. And then after that, we'll just take a few, like half a minute to a minute to come out of the silence. And then we'll talk about what is energy healing. We'll do a brief review of yesterday, and then we'll dive into today's session. The name of this webinar is the etheric body and energy healing. And it's a topic that I've really never addressed in full before. So I'm very excited to do that. And I would like to thank everyone for being here because a lot of new information came in yesterday. There are basically two areas for the etheric body. You've got your etheric body, and then we've got the etheric field, right? Just like we have our physical body, we've got the physical field and the astral body and the web of life. So we've got the etheric body and the etheric field. And yesterday we focused a lot on the etheric body itself. But today, my aim is to go a little bit more into an exploration of the field itself, because now we kind of have a sense of what our etheric body is. It's nice to look at the field and how the individual interacts with the collective at that level. Yeah, so let's start with a prayer of gratitude. Thank you to the source of creation for being us, for being these live webinars that are so amazing. For me, they're amazing. I'm grateful to all of you for being here, to your dear ancestors and for their role in the presence of the physical body, to the eternal tradition of wisdom that is the knowledge link between the absolute and the relative, for our ability to work concisely and efficiently, the strokes of experience and understanding that allow us to both purify and refine and heal, allow us to heal, and at the same time integrate the experience of, and the, I'd say the capabilities of working with energy healing as a tool, so that that becomes more and more a thing that is useful and accessible and yeah, within reach, leading to success in every area. May our webinar today meet and exceed everybody's desires and wishes and needs for the healings required on behalf of everyone today, but also just may it be a glorious time that we have together, very precious, very, very precious time for all of this. Thank you so much to everyone. All right, let's close our eyes. right. Let's take a minute and then open our eyes. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Thank you all for that absolutely exquisite silence. So beautiful, so full of knowledge, so full of brilliance. Thank you. All right. So for the new people, what is energy healing? Oh, why do we start with silence? Like, what good is that? I was going to say that before we went into the silence, and I didn't. I was so eager to get in. I just like, let's just close our eyes. But yeah, so energy healing, we're leveraging or engaging the entire range of consciousness, of the field of consciousness. So all the way from the gross material physical level of consciousness, all the way to the source of all consciousness, to the source of everything, the source of creation. That whole field is activated through the energy healing process, which is why it's integrative. Why I say that energy healing is integrative, because as we practice energy healing and we work the whole field of consciousness from the source all the way up to the surface, we're like knitting it together. It knits into a more coherent, more stable, and more flexible fabric. So why we go to silence is because the silent source of creation is the resource that provides all that we all the healing potential sort of emerges from that silent field. In fact, everything emerges from the silent field, but including the stresses that make us sick in the first place. But the important thing is that the silent source of creation is absolutely, it is absolute. It's the only place, it's the only part of that system or that process that is like you can trust it to be non-changing. You can trust it to be a place where awareness can anchor, that it will not falter. So it's really nice to start with a few moments of just diving the awareness inside and just experiencing that silence directly. It's just so lovely, so lovely. And that silence, it reflects out into the more manifest levels, and it illuminates a lot of all the layers. It illuminates all the dense level that we already are experiencing fairly clearly with our senses of perception, and it illuminates all the subtler layers where all the mechanics of manifestation occur. And that's important, because in energy healing, we kind of need to understand those mechanics in order to apply our attention in a way that activates the mechanics in favor of healing, in favor of success, in favor of fullness in life, and particularly in favor of manifesting that silent, unmanifest field of creation in the manifest, bringing it out. Bring it out, because that's sort of the overarching process that's taking place here. All the other things, all the things we experience on a day-to-day level, all of our experiences from waking, dreaming, sleeping, to all the behaviors and activities we perform and all the nature of our relative world, are an expression of that silent field, that silent source of creation. So the silent source of creation, you could say, is the administrator. It's that value of reality which is ever expressing itself here as us, as all this. And that process by which the silence expresses itself as all this, Jupiter, the surface of Jupiter, is that not divine? The process by which it does that, that process is the fundamental process taking place in every corner of the whole universe. So when we're aligned with that process, we don't tend to get into trouble. I talked about that a little bit yesterday. Now that I've done, that's the review. Oh, what is energy healing? Well, that's kind of in a nutshell. What is energy healing? I do it different every time. So if you want a different explanation, you can check out a different webinar. But the reason that's important, tying in with yesterday's session, I had that. Maybe I don't have it anymore. Anyway, divinity is expressing itself. And the more the divine source of creation expresses itself as our physical bodies, as us, as our experience, as our actions, as our thoughts, as our bodies, the more grace we experience in our life, the more supportive nature, that's another way to describe, the more we're aligned or attuned. I remember what I said yesterday. Yeah, so okay. So everywhere in the universe, this process is happening, that this huge, infinite, unbounded, unmanifest, quality-less ocean of consciousness is expressing itself. And when we're lined up with that, we're aligned with that, then the whole field of the universe is kind of like backing us up. It's supporting whatever we're doing. When we're lined up with it, our desires are aligned with that desire, and it's all together, and everything, life flows. And sometimes people say like artists and musicians and athletes, like they're in the zone, you know, it's like you're just in the flow of that, and life is lovely and smooth and wonderful. And if there's ever either a time for the overall being or a particular area of ourselves where we're a little bit like stubborn, or we're not letting ourselves move with the evolution of the whole universe, then what happens is in the beginning, that little spot becomes like unhinged, it becomes misaligned, right? And when it's a little misaligned, it's like you can get by with that. But because the universe continues to evolve, it's continuing to evolve like this, and that stuck part stays stuck. What happens is after a while, the disparity between where the universe is and where you are becomes greater and greater. And at some point or another, the universe can't take that. The universe can't take it. And so it's just like, you know what? You got to come join me up here. So it's like a rubber band or something. It's like you're holding on to something, and you're holding it and holding it, but it gets harder and harder to hold it, and then all of a sudden you can't hold it anymore. It's just like, okay, and something has to give. Something has to give. This is what surrender is about, right? We talked a little bit about that at the end of yesterday, but the whole idea of surrender is, if the universe is evolving ahead and there's something a bit stuck, you just surrender. If you just let go a little bit of the stuckness, it'll just come up and join the rest of the universe, and all is well. But if there's some stubbornness staying stuck, what'll happen is it becomes more and more difficult. More and more effort is required to stay stuck as the universe is forging ahead. And then at some point or another, that stuck bit just has to snap out of its stuckness and go up with the rest of the universe. And those moments, when a lot of effort has been invested in keeping things kind of like the same, and then one has to let go, and if that surrender element isn't there, then it can be uncomfortable for sure. It can be one of those things where what happens almost always, and this is what we're all experiencing collectively right now, folks, which is what's kind of leading us into today's session, because we're going to look at the collective etheric field, which is really quite an interesting place, is that we're all experiencing having to retreat back into the silence, essentially, which is what COVID has done for us. It has slowed things down and said, no, you are focusing too much outward, right? Too much to the ball games and the bars and the activities outward, and you need to come back. You need to come back and self-refer. And when that's what the surrender is. The surrender is a kind of a curling back in on one's own nature. So the universe is evolving forward because it's expressing that silent source of creation. And if we're stubbornly holding, and the silent source of creation is finding more and more ways to express itself up here, then what happens is, in order to catch up, something happens that pulls us back into the silence. Like getting sick, right? You get sick, you don't go to work, you don't go to school, you don't do anything, you don't go out and play ball, you just stay in and you self-refer, go back into the silence. And in that, from that deep inner space, we access and leverage all of our healing potential. Oh, it's a very interesting story, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So one of the things we did yesterday, which I will really want to revisit today, was at the very end of yesterday's session, a little exercise came forward. And mind you, I get these downloads and it's my joy to share them with you. But sharing them with you reflects them off of our brilliant healing collective, our collective body, our collective body. And what happened, and of course, these are live events. So there's not a lot of time for Dorothy to like hem and haw over things. As a result, I did my hemming and hawing at night while I was in my sleep state and doing all my night work. And I realized that that exercise that I gave you at the end of yesterday could use some refinement. I'm just grateful for everybody who tried it, because I was like, I was with you. I was doing it with you at night. And I tried it and I realized, there are areas of it that could be so much better. So we're just going to go through this briefly now. I asked Tom if he'll actually cut that section out of yesterday's session so that you just get the better upgraded version today. All right, just letting you know, you're getting the good version today, the better version. All right, so anytime anything crosses over, anytime we have a crossing over with our bodies, right, it creates a kind of neural integration, because normally, because of our, what do they call that, bilateral symmetry of the physiology, the two sides, they function on their own kind of, but when we do things that cross the right and the left side, it helps internal circuitry to kind of become a little more integrated. So it occurs to me that crossing the fingers like this is good. At first I was like, oh, you need to cross the thumbs. But there was, first of all, every exercise that I give you, every product that I come up with, my goal is for it to be as effortless and as sort of like elegant as possible. So I realized this could have a little more elegance in it. So this is a natural position, and this helps the thumbs stay together. This is very difficult. It's very difficult to keep them together if you're laying there in bed for hours. It's like they just want to slide apart. So we just keep them together this way. So this is the position. Now, what's really beautiful about this is a refinement, and I got this from you guys, honestly. It's because I dived into the exercise from yesterday from the perspective of our wholeness. And I found what happens is here in this area, here, those hand chakras, they start bubbling up a lot of hand chakra energy. And when the thumbs are like this, it directs that energy straight through those thumbs. All that energy, you can see it kind of makes like a heart shape or something, right? And it's just coming, it's barreling right out through the thumbs. Of course, we talked before about how these fingers have the thickest and largest number of micromeridians, right? So your thumbs are full of micromeridians, more so than the other fingers. So we've got all the energy coming through the hand chakras and then directing right through the thumbs and then right into the center of the heart chakra, right like that. Just like now, I discovered that it's lovely if you put some pillows on your lap, pile up the pillows and rest your hands on the pillows, completely effortless. If you want to do it laying down in bed, put some pillows under your elbows. Pillows under the elbows make that also very, very effortless. And the thumbs point right into the very, very center of the heart chakra area. So what we have is neural integration, energy forming, hand chakra energy forming in the palms of the hands. And then the whole thing is directed right into the center of the heart chakra. It is so stabilizing. It is so stabilizing for heart energy, extremely stabilizing. Anybody who has a heart condition, extremely stabilizing. But also, it supports the focus of awareness, which is focusing awareness is fundamental to energy healing. It supports the focus of awareness going in to the entire heart Mahamarma area. You will discover, you will notice right away that you feel things. You feel feelings in your chest area. As soon as the stability, the first thing is it stabilizes. The stable condition is like creating, it's like creating a foundation for healing, right? Like you stabilize your healing space, your sacred healing space. This really, really supports the stabilization of the healing space for the whole body, but especially for the heart center area, which is like sort of the center from where all healing activities are administrated. All right, so we stabilize that healing space. As soon as the healing space is stabilized, the heart center starts to trust. You start to trust. You trust yourself. When you trust, you can be a little more vulnerable with yourself and share what's going on. So you'll notice within a moment that you start to feel all these emotions and feelings. And the emotions and feelings give you a read on what is going on. You may also, it's possible, feel some purification. You may feel a releasing of some heavier energies or uncomfortable energies. This is an incredible exercise for extracting negativity from the heart center area. And we've talked in the past about how in this time that we live, and in a minute we're going to talk more about that, how we live in a world that where the laws of nature of our world allow suffering. We don't have to, we wouldn't, like, that doesn't have to be. Like, we could live in a world where the laws of nature of our world did not favor suffering, did not support it, did not allow it to even come up in the first place. But that's not our reality. We live in a world that actually, where laws of nature actually allow that. And because the laws of nature allow it, there's some particles, there's some bits of those laws of nature that can hide in the heart chakra area. So this eliminates that. This eliminates that. And you'll feel, when you do it, you'll feel so safe and so cozy and so protected and so secure. And then you can just feel any little bits, any little threads of that darkness, like little bits of tar or something, little threads of tar eliminating from the heart center area. Just because we live in a world that allows negativity and suffering doesn't mean that we have to necessarily participate in that. What it means is it gives us an opportunity to position ourselves to be bigger and better than that suffering. But you can't do that if you're asleep. You can't do that if things are happening in the heart center area that you're not aware of. So we need to have a way to look inside. We need to have a way to look inside this part of the body, because this is where all the big important work that's associated with energy healing gets done. Good. So that's the technique. I hope you enjoy it. You can use it. Do it when you're falling asleep at night. Do it when you're sitting up with pillows on your lap. Do it anytime, and may it serve you, and may it, over the course of time, stabilize your ability to be ever continuously living in your sacred healing space. So you just are that sacred healing space, living and moving and interacting with our world. Everywhere you go, your very presence will have a healing effect wherever you go. I love you. Enjoy that. Okay, so that was that exercise. That was part of the review from yesterday. All right, so the rest of yesterday, we talked about the etheric body itself. So for more information on that, go back and review yesterday's video. Everybody participating today will get yesterday's video as well. But today, I really wanted to spend some time on the etheric field itself, because it's so incredibly interesting. First, we're just turning our awareness. We all kind of got some stable kind of stabilized in ourselves here with that little exercise. Now we're turning our awareness to the etheric field. So just as I mentioned before, just as we have a physical field or the web of life, which is the astral field, there exists an etheric field. The etheric field is equivalent to the dream state world, the world of the dream state. It is equivalent for those who basically dream, just basic normal dreaming. For those for those who've been meditating for decades upon decades and don't have normal sleep like normal people, so yeah, then there's more to be said about the dream state there. But oh good, we've got a few people like that. Very nice, very good. But for the typical dream state experience, that is the etheric field. That's the etheric field. It looks a lot like this field. It looks a lot like the physical field, just like the etheric body at its more denser level looks more like mostly like the physical body. One of the brilliant pieces of information that came to me while we were having our silence at the beginning of today's session was that the etheric field has a lot of incompletions in it. Unresolved experiences, unfulfilled desires. The etheric field is the place where those desires which aren't getting expressed in the relative, they tend to sit up there. You can imagine that because the etheric field sits, one more piece of, I have to give you definition, a couple definitions here. Physical body, okay, so you've got the physical realm, and then you've got the entire subtle manifest realm. So when I say manifest, and when I say physical, I don't mean the same thing. Physical means physical material, and manifest can include anything from the unmanifest field, from the edge of that, all the way up to the physical realm, including the physical realm is also manifest. So this is important to know, because I don't want to confuse you. All right. The etheric field sits between all the subtle manifest realm and what actually comes into being. So when we talk about that point where the rubber meets the road, we're really talking about the etheric field and the etheric body. That's the point where something happens, something magical happens between a thought or an idea and then actually the thought and idea becoming something. Because of that, you can imagine the pressure that's in that point. It is a point of tremendous pressure. It is astounding when we think about how many differences there are among all the people in the world. So many people, so many, what is it, 8.5 billion or something? And each one different, each one with their own internal landscape, and each one with their own unique sets of desires and intentions and ambitions and expectations and assumptions and so forth. And that somehow this manifest field of creation manages to be like a mirror for everyone. Every one of us gets that experience that we need to lead us to our next step of evolution, whatever that is. So that's really, really, really amazing. It's really amazing. When we think about the range and complexity of, all the different cultures of the world. And so it's just amazing. It's amazing that the relative field is able to do that for us. It does it with a little bit of lag time. And I think the lag time, right? Because like sometimes you think, oh, I should go to the store. But then it's not like you're at the store, right? Part of you is, your little attention beam goes to the store, but to actually get the body to the store takes a few minutes. So the etheric, it's that lag time or that element of time. So good we did a webinar last time. The one 3 weeks ago was on the topic of time, right? I didn't actually plan it that way, but intentionally, but this was nature's planning, nature's perfect divine planning. That last webinar was on time, because really the mechanics of time are played out. They get laid out in the etheric body, in the etheric field. And it's that lag time between an idea or an intention and its manifestation that accommodates the mechanisms that take place in the etheric field that allow things to happen at the material level. So yesterday we did a healing for our relationship with time, and with time, the laws of nature of time as they manifest in our etheric bodies. Just throwing that out there. All right. So we won't do another one of those today. The etheric field. Okay. So we know, everybody knows, that the dream landscape, that the dream world can be a little chaotic at times. It can be kind of chaotic. And the reason that I was inspired to do this webinar was because the fires in Australia led to the completion of the Indigenous Peoples Yagya on January 12, 2020, which led to a flooding of consciousness, of awakened, clear beams of consciousness, of light of consciousness through the earth chakra in Australia into the astral through the etheric realms. And of course, that flooding of light started to show what was going on there. So back around January 12th, I started exploring this realm to see what was what. And the first thing that I noticed was that some of the mechanisms that hold the laws of nature of suffering in place, some of those laws of nature and the mechanisms that anchor them and hold them in place were sitting down in this etheric field. Not as much at the astral level, some down in that whole area there, but more than any, they were hiding at the etheric level. And that it was when the light first started shining in there, there were an awful lot of dark, dingy pockets in the etheric field around us. So I was just adding, like, you know, the story of the stick, right? That the mountain is going to, what is it going to erupt or something? It's gonna, the mountain's either gonna erupt or it's gonna avalanche into the city and kill everybody. So one of the Indian gods, Krishna, goes and he holds the mountain up like that. And the people, they're so grateful. They come with their sticks. Do I have, I don't have a stick around here. No, not a single one. They come with their sticks. They come with their stick and they hold up the mountain like, oh, they're helping. Really, God is doing it, but they're just helping hold up the mountain. So I went in there with my stick and I said, okay, this light, this incredible floodlight is coming out of Uluru, the Ayers Rock of Australia, but I'll hold up my stick and I'm going to shine my light. And we have in our webinars over the last several months as our collective, we've held up our sticks together as well and shined into the etheric field. But today we shine as never before into the etheric field. I'm just watching the, what is it, like a lighthouse shift its beam over there. We're like a lighthouse, we shift our beam into the etheric field. I had the thought, and now I'm just on new territory. I'm telling you as I read it, everybody. It's one of the most interesting points in our webinars. I had the thought, if the etheric field is the dream realm, then could it be that doing work in the etheric field, like healing for the etheric field, would also support for everybody in our live webinar to refine and increase their power of their dream experiences. It should. I mean, it should, right? Because getting the etheric body and the etheric field kind of all lined up should help sort of clarify our position within the etheric field. And it, I would think it would, the first thing is that as our light of our collective starts to shine into this etheric field, the first thing that happens is we create order. But I would like to say, before we can start creating order, and I'm just calling this as I'm seeing it, first we need to establish that peace. We need to create that safe healing space energy. We have to do that. That's why we did the exercise earlier. The exercise, because when you are a living, breathing, walking healer, right? You're healing. You're the essence of healing moving through our earth. As such, the first thing is to stable that feeling that you get when you get your thumbs facing into the center of the heart chakra, that stable feeling. We need to stabilize first, because the healing can't take place for the etheric field and in the etheric field without there being the foundation for the healing, which is that ability for all being existing in the etheric field to feel safe enough to trust and surrender. Because the healing comes through that process of folding back into the silence of source, right? So it comes from that surrender process. So what we're doing is we're just creating the condition by which it's way, way, way easier for any life that we encounter in the etheric realm to surrender, to just go back to source, like go back to the light, right? And this ties in beautifully to work that I was doing decades ago. I still sometimes, occasionally, but now we as a collective doing our collective condition is supporting those individuals who are no longer in the physical form, but are not comfortably moving to the light. The exiting of so many souls at this time due to the pandemic, all around the area in Beirut where the explosion was, all around that area, because it's too much of a shock. People didn't even see it coming. They weren't prepared. They didn't have their affairs in order. So what happens? What happens when somebody, and I was going actually back in time last night, I was doing the same healing in time back to the time of the bubonic plague in Europe, because someone recently said, was it Tom? Was it you? I don't know. Somebody was reading about, we're reading about plagues of the past, right? Because we're experiencing one of them in the present. And this person said to me, I think it was my husband, he said that he read that a person could feel okay in the morning and then start to feel a little ill by lunchtime and be dead by the afternoon. That happened during the bubonic plague. And I certainly know that people, I read myself that sometimes people would go to bed at night feeling a little off their mark and just not wake up in the morning. So it just happened so quickly. It happened so quickly. So what happens when there's a quick exit, like an accident, like the explosion in Beirut or whatever? The souls are shocked out of their physical form. No returning to. If you've been blown to bits, no going back. So they get shocked out of the physical form without having had time to put their affairs in order, without expecting it. Comes as a big surprise. We're just touching in not only our current situation, but times in the past too, because it's a pattern. There's some patterns there. Again, that's an example of, they were in a place and they thought, oh, the universe is changing, but I'm staying right here. Then all of a sudden, boom, they're at the other place. And what's happening is we are, with our consciousness, our conscious intention, we're just holding the energy frequency of that incredible softness of the sacred healing space, that stable, dependable, like anchor to the source of creation, which never changes. So it's like you can bank on that. And we're just holding that space. And that radiates into the etheric field. Thank you, everybody, for being in your unique locations on Earth. It blankets into the etheric field. It blankets the etheric field. It goes through space and time. And it's so lovely. It's so soft. It's so soothing and so comforting that it creates a condition whereby any souls who are stuck at the etheric level, because that's what happens when a soul gets surprised into their death, is normally, under normal conditions, is more of a gradual process, right? Say a person falls ill, they kind of know that it's their end. Maybe they lived a nice long life. They slowly, gradually, gracefully kind of settle, their awareness settles down, and they go into Mahasamadhi, that final dip into the absolute, which is the big dip, right? And it takes days. It takes, according to Ayurveda, it takes 72 hours at least for the consciousness of the individual to fully eradicate itself from the physical form. So even though there's a moment when the doctor will come in and say, ah, yes, clinically dead, we will call this person now dead, it doesn't mean that they're gone. There's this period where the soul gently, gracefully works its way out of the tissues from finer and finer and finer and finer levels until eventually just the soma is the only thing left that's coming out. Just needing to support a download at that moment. That was me in my quietness, supporting and helping with the brilliance of you, all of us together. We're like an orchestra, playing the music of silence together. And that little download that just came through to tell you was for all those souls who didn't have much time to leave, to be given a roadmap of the mechanics of gathering the fragments of their consciousness and bringing it all back like the ultimate offering to the source of creation. So incredibly profound heart activation in this process. Such immense waves of love, immense waves of sweetness, unconditional acceptance, surrender, total adoration. Yeah, total adoration flowing from our hearts right now. And that adoration is softening the bed that we created. We created this soft blanket of that sacred healing space to go around our earth. And now our beautiful hearts are joining together, again, like a choir or like an orchestra, playing the music of such tender, unconditional acceptance, such sweetest of love is now refining. We're refining the sacred healing space that's existing at the etheric level of creation. I mean, it exists through the entire manifest, right? Because it's really, it's anchored in here at the causal and source level. But what it's doing is it's just becoming a softer, richer, more pliable, and more accessible energy frequency for everyone. And we're particularly making it available for any individuals who left their physiology but are still a little bit clinging to the etheric level of creation. That's when you get ghosts. By the way, that's when you get ghosts, right? Because ghosts kind of look like the person. They still have that shape and construction of the physical form that they were once not so long ago occupying, but they're not somehow, they're as if stuck right? Stuck between realms. So this is exactly, we're helping to unstick that stuck energy, because it's not a happy energy, folks. When you have individuals who left their bodies prematurely, or at least suddenly and unexpectedly, and get a bit stuck, this is one of the energies that clutters up the etheric field. We need our etheric field. Now, this is Dorothy being a little more setting a healthy boundary. Now we're setting a healthy boundary. We need our etheric field to be as clear and clean and orderly as possible in order for the maximum number of souls living in their human bodies on Earth at this time, and maybe other souls too, like maybe animals. We've talked about the evolution of all souls, to be able to awaken gracefully, easily, and to eliminate or eradicate suffering, which has been anchored. The laws of nature that promote and support suffering have had anchors in the etheric field, all the way down to the astral field, that whole area, but more in the denser levels. So we're being housekeepers, but you know how the housekeeper is. She's a little bit setting boundaries with the children, right? I just mopped this floor, take your shoes off before you come in, yeah? So now we're doing that. First, we create the space for all souls who are ready to transition, to move out of that kind of empty roaming, like empty roaming of the land. It's like a light. It's like bringing, like what, the Pied Piper? No, maybe that's not a good example. Sorry, but something like that. Like we're creating the condition to draw all those souls in a gentle, loving, beautiful, sweet, accepting way. But then also, we're also saying, but you need to do this. Also for those who are resistant, for those who have made deals, those have made deals, all new information coming in, those who have found a niche in the etheric realm as a perpetuator of suffering. So even those who are still attached, oh, no surprises there, right? So in life, attached, and then nature has to go boom, like that. No, you need to catch up with the rest of creation. So then, okay, now they're attached in the etheric level, and they're still attached. Yeah, but I kind of like have figured I've got kind of created a niche here. I'm helping the drug dealers. I'm helping, right? Right? I'm going in and exploring the physiologies of people who are under the influence of alcohol. That happens. It's not pretty, but it's important to note that it's like a false sense of evolution. It's like, well, I've got a job. I'm helping to disrupt the energies of people who are already on a self-destructive path. Yeah, that's probably not a good job to have. That's like being a member of what do they call that? Organized crime. Sort of like the organized crime level of the etheric realm. So this is the level that we are now, because we are a big, powerful, amazing healing collective, and it's like a diamond we're like a diamond with many facets, and we're focusing like that, like a laser, and we can do this in a way beyond what Dorothy could do by herself. And as we're doing that, we're cleaning up the mess. We're cleaning up the imbalances in the etheric field that have been responsible for bad things. You can just go look in the news for the bad things. We all know where to find them. You can go to the dark web. Go to 4chan. No, don't go to 4chan. Let's just clean up the mess, and then all live in a cleaner space. How about that? I think I like that. I think I like that. That option suits me better. Oh, I love you guys. Okay, so I'm looking at my question and answer box. I don't know what the questions are because I haven't opened it yet, but I'm also looking at my time. So we're about 25 minutes out. There's more we can do with the etheric realm, you guys. We've really, I should say, when I started this webinar, I was thinking about it a day or so ago, and I was thinking, I've been eager to do this healing for the etheric realm since January. So I've been holding myself back. But at the same time, I was thinking, is it premature? Is it premature? There's so much to know about this level of creation. There's so much to do. There's so much to know. So we could go on another several hours just doing healings and exploring together the etheric realm and the etheric field. But I do see those 11 questions, and I would like to say again that I still stand by my word. I'm going to make a video from the last webinar 3 weeks ago of all the questions I didn't get to answer that time. But I see we do have a lot of questions, so I'm thinking maybe it would be wise to start in on some of these questions. Oh, look, more questions are popping in. Oh. So let's go ahead and see if we can bring out more interesting and vital information about the etheric realm through the context of answering questions. Why not? Can you please show us the position on your heart chakra so we can see it? We can't see your hand positioning now. Oh, yes. Okay, so. Wait a minute. Okay, sorry. Like straight in, straight in. And pillows on your lap, right? You put some pillows on the lap. And then that makes it super easy. You just rest your hands there and it just goes, can you see it's going straight in like that? If you're laying on your back and your elbows are propped up with pillows, your hand might want to go this way. And in that case, what I do is I put my hands under my breasts and I just let the thumbs go up like that. It has the same effect either way. And as I said yesterday, sometimes if I get really tired for some reason in that position, I'll just cover with my hand chakras just straight. The really important thing about this exercise and about all my exercises, you guys, anything you get off my website or my knowledge base or anything, the important point is that you need to be comfortable. You need to do it in a way that's easy and comfortable and no strain. Why? Because that healing space is created from a sense of self-trust. It's like that's the fundamental energy frequency in your healing condition. When you are in maximum healing, your full tilt healing mode is when you feel so safe and so comfortable and so at home and so easy and no strain anywhere. That's why I recommend pillows. That's why I recommend just if it feels uncomfortable that way, find a position that works for you. Because really, what we're doing with our hands is only there to get the consciousness flowing in the right direction. Once the consciousness gets flowing in the right direction, it will do that on its own. And you can use, you can do it this way, you can do it that way. You can still accomplish, because it's more about what's happening on the level of consciousness and less about what's happening at the physical material. Does that make sense? So it's not like a dogma type of like you have to do it and you have to be very rigid. No, you do not have to be very rigid. For those guys in the etheric realm, yeah, we have to be kind of rigid. Like they have to just go to the light now, which is, by the way, what's happening there. But there are times to be rigid and times to be flexible. Can you show more how it looks like place the hands? Yes, I did that. We can't really see your hand. Oh, lots of questions about the hand. For how long do we do the exercise? You can do the exercise as long as you like. Just again, don't be too rigid with yourself. Be easy. And my experience is the longer I do the exercise, the deeper and deeper and deeper the experience of creating the healing space, and the deeper my senses of perception refine. It also promotes refinement of perception, right? Because these activities that we perform that engage the heart center area with an action on the surface, physical action. When you engage physical action with heart-centric, emotional, like I love you, like love, right? You put the action together with the love. That causes refinement of perception. So as you're sitting there, what happens is you start to notice that it becomes more and more sensitivity to the landscape of the whole heart center area. Also, I hope that helps answer that question. Also, one of our participants yesterday sent a lovely picture from the Middle Ages of an angel, very similar, very similar to what I was describing in yesterday's session of the way the etheric body looks at its subtler level. So I will add that. Can you make a point, please, to add that? We'll add that to our the links that we send out after today's session. Thank you for that cool picture. Oh, and by the way, I do love that picture. And I would say the angel, as I saw it, the wings were smaller and more of them, but very similar, very similar. So thank you. I definitely want to share that with everybody. Okay, if one has tightness in the stomach, some stress, could one do the cross finger exercise with thumbs pointed at the third chakra stomach or other chakras? Well, who's brilliant? I think that's a brilliant idea. I absolutely think it's a brilliant idea. I haven't tried it myself, so I guess I shouldn't say, oh, absolutely for sure, let's do it. But look, you guys, one of the values of us all doing this energy healing together is we are together. We're like a team of scientists. We're discovering what energy healing can really do and what happens if I look at it through my microscope, or what happens if we look through it through our ginormous collective telescope. How does it look then, right? So we're doing this all together. It's beautiful. So I mean, I think you should try it. I'll try it. Let's try it. We'll try it and see how that goes. I like to try it. I'm not going to try it right now because I'm on camera, but I'd like to try it when I can settle my awareness down and transcend while I'm doing it, because that's when I get the best results. Good idea, though. I think it's a good idea, because ultimately what you're doing here, right, is you're creating a little energy capsule, right? A little energy capsule is like a little spout. So the energy, the consciousness comes out the spout and it goes in. So then, like, yeah, you can go in, you can feed energy into the heart chakra. You can also explore the heart chakra. You can also promote graceful purification of the heart chakra. So why not other chakras? I would say probably. The only thing that would be tricky about that on other chakras would be how to get yourself comfortable enough that you're able to sit there for a long time. Like, you need a lot of pillows if you want to do it up here at the throat chakra, or up to the pillows all the way up to your forehead, right? But you could do it. You could try it. Try it. See what happens. Oh, one person's asking, does it matter if the palms are above or below the thumbs? I don't think so. Like I said, sometimes if I'm laying down, my hands end up like this, but sometimes I'm like that, and I'm doing this just so you can see where it's happening with my thumbs. But if I were doing with pillows, it would be straight on like that. Be comfortable, and know that the important thing is what's happening on the level of consciousness. You are moving your energy. You are moving your consciousness in a way that heals you. That's the important thing. A little bit this way, a little bit that way, doesn't matter. It's okay. It's like eating a meal, you know, a little bit of this food, a little bit of that food. It's good. It's all good. As long as it's organic, you know. Anyway, or suited to your constitution. Is the etheric field the part that can gather up entity attachments? I'm not clear on any of this. Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you. Boy, I like that question. Is the etheric field the area that can gather up entity attachments? No. No, attachments tend to come in at the astral level of the physiology. However, entities particularly, as I mentioned, something like ghosts, that kind of like more malevolent types of entities that hopefully we will not be dealing with as much, because we now have a system in place. By the way, you guys, the healing that we did for them has extended and has our big selves, our cosmic selves, were continuing to work on that healing, by the way, as I transitioned into questions, and has created a kind of an earth matrix, an energy matrix that's going around the whole earth. It's providing this particular support. It's like a program, a support program for all individuals who have to leave their physiologies unusually quickly, or who are unusually attached to the relative field and having trouble transitioning. So that it's like a blanket. The blanket is actually made of threads, right? It's a matrix. It's a matrix. This is a permanent upgrade, you guys. We're leveraging the light. Sorry, I'm slightly digressing from this question. I will come back to the question, but I would like to say we are leveraging the light of Uluru to create a blanket matrix around our world that supports the graceful and gentle and loving, tender transition for souls who are either have extreme attachments into the physical material field and are unable to let go and go back to the light, or for those individuals who left their physiologies too quickly and were unable to comfortably transition back to the light. You guys are brilliant. That was brilliant. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Etheric field, the part where that can gather up entity attachments. I mean, there are some hooks that are in the etheric level. It does happen, but always clearing such things is best affected by moving to a subtler level, because from a subtler level, you are more powerful. So if we address attachments of sorts at the astral level, where is the web of life and all the cords and threads of consciousness that tie our world together and connect it, and eliminate the attachments from there, then that's going to be a more efficient way to do it than to try to handle it at the surface. That's my take. I often use two types of attachments. There can be threads that can attach into the physiology, but sometimes there can be like hooks, there can be implants, I found for implants, the ones that are the most difficult to remove, and yes, implants tend to be etheric in nature, but we eliminate them from the perspective of the astral. So the etheric is up here, but the astral is down here. So we slide underneath. We slide underneath where we have a better perspective, more access to resources, more wisdom. The nuclear warhead mantra is implanted in the implant and it gets rid of it. It's very efficient, probably the most efficient way I know. Nuclear warhead mantra, my dear, can we add the link to the nuclear warhead mantra? Thank you. Thank you to Dr. Pillai, who has put many important mantras online for free. You can look him up. Yeah, so getting rid of implants. And yes, they show up at the etheric level, and they often look like a kind of a steely material. They look like a kind of metallic material, almost like what they remind me the most of is the type of metal that I've seen in some types of meteors. It's kind of metal alloy that's made of metals, some of which are not familiar on our Earth. Anyway, if something like that shows up, use the nuclear warhead mantra, put it in the implant, and it eliminates it. The nuclear warhead mantra is long and complicated. It might be too much trouble to memorize it. So what I do is I've just kind of created a little file in my awareness for the nuclear warhead mantra. I don't have to memorize it. I just have a file. That's where the nuclear warhead mantra is. That's what the energy signature feels like, right? So we put the energy signature in there. That's because we're not all students of Sanskrit. So we haven't memorized all the layers, right? Okay. Okay, so a Facebook message arrived last night while we were talking about the etheric body. I woke up in the middle of the night with a very moving dream about you. We were sitting with Maharishi picture behind you, and there was a glorious Vedic ceremony being done for you with red rose petals. Everyone, we were all meditating, being in silence with you. Jai Gurudev, my friend. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So the yagyas are constantly being performed. All yagyas are being performed constantly at the causal level, down here at the causal level of creation. And the great, great, great priests and seers and rishis, the ones who know the Vedas better than anybody, the Maharishis, they are there doing those yagyas. So sometimes, and a yagya is, for those who are new to that term, yagya is a performance at the physical material level. But in this case, you should know that yagyas are performed at all the layers of creation. So this yagya the person is referring to is being performed at the etheric level of creation. But there are yagyas, never-ending, continuous yagyas being performed at the causal level, finest relative, finest manifest level of creation. And what they do is they are performances that interface consciousness with the laws of nature in order to promote evolution in the most efficient and graceful way by using sound frequencies and vibrations which interface with the world. Either they're interfacing with the causal world or the etheric world or the physical world. They're also performed physically. And they promote these sound frequencies or vibrations are performed, and the sound frequencies interface with karma, which is being experienced in the world, to create an interference pattern for negative karma and to create a supportive frequency that enhances good karma, essentially. That's the best I can do for you explaining yagya. Yagya. Beautiful experience. Thanks for sharing that. Do ghosts interfere with our individual etheric fields? How do we set better personal boundaries? Ooh, good question. I was actually going to say something about this earlier, but man, I'm glad you asked that. Okay, first of all, there are things in your house that will attract them. And one of those things is alcohol. So guilty files will also attract them. That's why I'm going to make that video for you guys, because I've got my list of questions over here, and right now it's a guilty file. So I have to make the video, recycle the questions, recycle the paper that the questions are on, then we're just clear sailing again. So, but yeah, one of the things that you can do to purify those, to set some healthy boundaries, is purify your space. Purify the etheric field that you live in and get rid of things that do not bring you bliss. Get rid of things that are creating challenges. But particularly get rid of alcohol, spirits. They call it spirits, right? There's a reason why they call it spirits, because it definitely attracts spirits. And I mentioned before about the relationship between disembodied spirits and people who have alcohol. Not that you do necessarily, but I appreciate that you asked the question, because it gives me a chance to say that to everybody or anybody for whom it may be useful. We just love everybody. No judgments, only love, but also only wanting the very best for everyone. So clean your space. That's one thing you can do. yeah, they can definitely do that. The best way to protect yourself on the level of consciousness in your body is to stabilize your astral field. Because remember, always you go deeper. If the entity is functioning up here, then we get underneath that guy. Because from the surface, when we're on the surface looking in, it looks big and abstract and difficult to deal with. But when we're underneath, when we're more abstract, it looks small and insignificant. This is why energy healing really leans on the ability of consciousness to go back to the source of creation. Because being able to go back to the source of creation gives you the flexibility and the resources to get underneath any negative energy. Let me say that again. It gives you the ability to get underneath and beyond any negative energy. You are bigger. Oh, I'm going to draw you a picture. Oh, Tom, I don't have any pencils or pens. Can you pass one over this way? Sorry. Should be a little more resourceful than that, right? Just a pen is good. Thank you. Oh, and paper. Oh, he gave me pencil and paper. Beautiful. All right. Here is the ocean of consciousness. Here is divine being, the source of creation, and here are you. There are you. Okay. Now, because you have a physical body way up here at the surface, the physical level of creation, you own all this. This is you. This is what I've been telling you guys all along, right? All this is you. You are all of this. Okay. So about halfway down here, we start looking at collective expressions of you. So this is where you and me and everybody else, we start layering over each other. But actually it's a little deeper than that, sorry. But anyway, and then this is all individual you. Mental, emotional, etheric bodies are up here. Okay, like your etheric body is like around you like this. There's your etheric body right there, see? Okay, so what happens when we have all beings come from the being, one big divine source of all creation. They all come from here. Some of them manifest only this big. And some of them manifest like humans, this big, right? Okay, so what happens if you have an entity without a body, a disembodied entity, and is only about this big? You are all of this. This entity right here, this entity, its range of autonomy is this big. Because it's down at the causal level, it can do things down here that might create some trouble up there, but it's not bigger than you. It's not big. You need to understand how powerful and how awesome and how amazing you are. Why souls are fighting to get into human bodies. As much as the laws of nature of our field support suffering, right? But people are just fighting to get in here because, why? Because when you are human, you own the whole thing. You own the whole ball of wax. That's why you get the spectrum down at the causal level of creation. You get this spectrum of entities, some of which are angelic, and some of which, I'm not very good here. Oh, let's put some little horns there. Okay, so some of which are angelic, and some of which are kind of like little devilish forms. That's why along this causal level, the causal physiology, right? You've got your light side and your dark side down there, and why some of the forms are angelic and why some of the forms are devilish. But none of them, not one of them, is bigger than you. You are bigger. And because of your human physiology, feeding soma back to the source, you have access to this. We have access to this divine being. So because of that access, nothing, no negative entity will ever be able to take you down. We just created healing for all those lost souls today, didn't we? It was amazing. We did that. We did that because we can. Because in our human bodies, we have this ability to feed the precious gift of soma produced by the human physiology into that whole range of expression in order to promote whatever is needed to bring our world into a state of grace and to keep everybody and everything aligned with cosmic evolution, with the intention of the universe to evolve, the intention of divine being to evolve. See how amazing you are? I love that question. So, etheric problems, place your awareness at the astral level and address it from there. You will have more resources, capabilities, and you can do it. We can do it. Dear Dorothy, are we helping now guardian angels to move these souls to heaven? Oh, that's such a sweet question. Absolutely. Because when we're doing that healing for all the souls to move to heaven, we're engaging, when we do energy healing, we're engaging the whole field. We're engaging all this part. My pen doesn't work very much standing up straight, but you get the idea. The whole field is engaged. That includes this area down here where our guardian angels, because they are regions of our causal body. Our causal body is like an ocean. Oh, here's one more part of the diagram. I need the table for that. So your body, your subtle bodies, and the closer and closer you get to infinite divine being, the more infinite your body is. So at the deepest level, at the causal level, your body's as big as the universe. And there are regions in that ocean-like expression of you, the ocean of your consciousness, you. There are regions that we would identify as the guardian angel regions. All this area is outside of time and space. So we're drawing upon the resources of our being also in the future. Oh, so much to say about that. Our spirits who channel into people on earth, clinging to the etheric realm when they should be moving to the light, or are they already in the light? Oh, well, now that's a really good question. I would say both are possible. You know, some people channel just Mother Divine. Mother Divine's totally there in the light and all that. I would like to say that there are definitely those who have ulterior motivations. And also that I just like to add, as long as the topic of channeling has come up, I'd like to add that while energy healing is integrative to mind and body, channeling is the opposite of integrative to mind and body. Because in channeling, the occupying soul steps aside and another soul steps in to present. And when that happens, it's like inviting someone into your house to stay for a while when you're not there. And what they do is they rearrange the furniture and they put everything in an order that works for them. And then when you come home from vacation, you're like, oh, it's my house, you gotta go. Well, then everything, you find things are out of place. And it can take a while to get everything back into place. And then the process of integrating begins again. So best, for the sake of optimal integration of mind and body, to don't channel. That's my word on channel. That's my official word on channeling. If the etheric realm is where manifestation occurs, can we do healing for manifestation? Yes, yes. And actually, here we are over time. You know, there's so much, in fact, that is such a rich question that I honestly, sincerely feel that we could do a whole nother webinar on it. We should really do a manifestation webinar, leaning into the etheric level, because let me tell you, there's so much that I know about the etheric realm, even without the privilege of being in the light of our collective, that I wasn't even able to share with you today. So there's a whole lot more we could do with that. And I would say, absolutely, we need to do that. Another author of the message was written from Iran. Oh, that's interesting. So this has to do with that Facebook message, remember? The Yagya? That came from Iran. Beautiful. Thoughts on things like flower essences or homeopathic, which are preserved in alcohol. It's okay, because it's the intention. The intention makes a difference. Even the alcohol makes a difference, right? Like, suppose alcohol is an important part of your cultural and spiritual tradition, because that happens, right? Like bread and wine or something, and you only take it during the spiritual practice and like that, and like that would be different from someone who gets drunk for the sake of getting drunk, right? So much of it is what we're really dealing with here in energy healing is consciousness, not physical material. But in the case of alcohol used to preserve things like flower essences and homeopathic drops or whatever, tinctures, the intention is we're creating this specific alcohol for this medicine. Whereas with alcohol that people use to get drunk, the intention is we're creating this to be that material that deteriorates the human physical form. So it's more about consciousness than it is about the material, but it's not just about your consciousness. Like, say you buy the wine that you're going to use for your sacred ceremony or something like that. If you buy wine specifically made for that and you only use it for that, that's different than if you go out and just buy like a cheap wine that was originally designed to get teenagers drunk, right? And then you use it for that because the intention of the creator of the product is also in the product. So it's a field. It's a field. We're working with it. Now, of course, you can slide underneath it and you could purify that out. If you thought, well, it's the only wine I could get and I need it for my sacred religious ceremony and I'm only going to drink 3 drops of it, you know, but I could only get this like crazy cheap teenager wine, then you could purify it. You could probably purify. You slide underneath and you eliminate, you eradicate, you, what is it? Exercise. You exercise any of the spirits that are in that alcohol, and including the industry, right, which is driven by greed. Have to exercise all the dissonant energies. All right, my dears, we did the whole thing. The only one I didn't answer was the one about doing a manifestation, a healing for manifestation using the etheric field, the etheric realm. So I will add that, and either I'll do a whole webinar on it or a video on it, or I can send it with the questions from the last webinar. That's a great question. I love it. Thank you for all the amazing questions today. I'm loving you all dearly and looking forward to seeing you all in 3 weeks. We'll do another webinar in 3 weeks, and you know, may our lives, everybody's life on earth, just keep getting easier and easier and better as we slide into the auspicious period in September. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being with me. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon.